Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Son coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. I have something today for everyone that's going to depart a little bit from the Bigfoot Dogman genre that we've been on a lot here lately. This guy's name is Josh, and he has a very interesting story. And I don't want to give any of it away, so he can take you on the journey as he tells the story. But I assure you that it is a very fascinating story, and you're going to be shocked to hear it for sure. So instead of beating around the bush for too long, if anyone has any stories out there that they want to share, any encounters, what have you, you can email me at brentonson@gmail.com, and I will get back to you. And if do a pre-interview or what have you, if it's a good story, we'll have you on the show. And so from here, let's just go to our guest, Josh, and we'll let him tell us about this crazy, insane story that he's got. Hello, Josh. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Brenton?
I'm doing great, man, for
Good,
sure.
good.
Yeah, when you emailed me that, I read it and I was like, oh my goodness, I've never heard such a thing before on where it went for you. And but I had been saying stuff similar to what happened, and we talked about the details, and we'll get into that after you tell the story. But if you could, why don't you tell us kind of where you live, and as much as you want to hone in on the estate and what have you, that where you live, and then just begin to tell us what happened.
Okay, no problem. Well, I live in South Georgia, and it's a pretty big town. It's not near the biggest in Georgia, but kind of a tough town, There's a lot of good people here, and I'll just start the story in for you. I was 21 years old. I'm 33 now. I was in college at the time, just broken up with my girlfriend, and I remember that because she was stalking me, and I was stuck in the house. I had to, I didn't want to have to deal with her, so I just stayed at the house, did my homework, watched TV,
Right.
and it was late. The Conan O'Brien show was just wrapping up. I was watching the ending credits. Maybe I should have told this first, but my neighborhood, it's a good neighborhood in a tough town, and we all kind of watch out for each other. And it used to be a golf course. They turned into some condominiums, and
Right.
everybody kind of knows everybody's business. Everybody got along. It was a nice little place, and it was on the creek, had a swimming pool, tennis court, and we've been having a lot of break-ins in the neighborhood, a lot of theft, a lot of things getting stolen off of people's back porches, and
Right.
we all kind of gathered together and talked about it, and we was all on high alert. Well, anyways, I was watching into that Conan O'Brien, watching the end credits, and I heard some rustling going on outside, and I just knew it was the people that had been stealing,
Right.
taking whatever, and I was kind of excited. Oh, I was really excited, and just not thinking, and compelled to go out there and get everybody up and resolve the situation so we go back to living right.
Right.
And so I just take off out of my house, don't even close the door, and I go running down to where all the property, like people got where we were chaining up the jet skis and some grills and some boats and all that at the end of this little cul-de-sac, to
Right.
where you'd have to ride by everybody's house with their property, if you were planning on stealing something. There was only one road in, one road out.
Right.
And we seen you coming, so that's everybody started putting their stuff down there. This was part of our little plan to catch whoever was thieving.
Yeah.
And so I run out there, And I'm making some noise, you know. It's well lit. We got some security lights, you know. Not everybody's lights are off in their house. You know, it's Friday night, so people are still up. And I go over to that area, and you know, I look over it 4 or 5 times, and you know, and I'm looking around. I don't see anybody. I just figured, you know, I was a little overzealous. Just jumped on it. And anyways, I just start walking back to the house, and I noticed some movement behind the tree, you know, and started, you know, I was really trying to be kind of nice because I didn't know how many of them there was.
Yeah.
I know there's just one of me, and right now I'm by myself, so I tried to plead with them and tell them. So look, you know, you've been caught. Ain't no reason you gotta go to jail. Ain't nobody perfect in this neighborhood, but you come on back and you're gonna go to jail. You know, I was pleading with them like that.
Yeah.
And you know, there was no movement. You know, it was almost like whoever was back there thought maybe I was dumb, or you know, maybe I just go with the flow and not investigate the situation. But I could see him back there, so I tried again. You know, I said, you know, maybe I was a little bit more aggressive, you know, and I told him, look, you know, like, the more I talk, the more people's going to wake up and start wondering what's going on out here. You need to go. You know, this is not going to end well for you. You know, like,
yeah.
Like, everybody in this neighborhood's got a gun, you know. This is South Georgia. And still, there's nothing. And I guess by this time, I got mad and, you know, decided there's only one way, you know, I was like, just going to have to go down there and get face to face with whoever it is and whatever happens. So I start walking over that way.
But you started getting loud to try to maybe wake the neighbors up too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was getting loud. Yeah, I was getting aggressive. I was being loud. And, but then, you know, nobody was coming out, you know, that, you know, that don't make a whole lot of sense because, I was pretty close to about 5 houses, right? You know, like in the middle, you know, getting loud.
Right.
But so I start walking over that way, and sure enough, you know, you could really see that there's somebody back there. And what happened was they got where they were trying to keep the tree in between me and them.
Right.
And you know, some long strides and you know, like working for it, I finally caught up to what was there. And it turned around and looked at me, and all I can tell you is it was a shadow man. You know, like you couldn't. It was completely pitch black dark. The figure was, even though it was well lit around, even though it was nighttime, so I didn't have perfect vision of it, but I was arm lengths away from it, and we sat there and we both looked at each other for a minute.
Right.
And,
so when you first came up on this thing, it was trying to go around the tree as you were. So you were walking around the tree, and it was trying to stay on the opposite side, so that.
Yeah, so we couldn't meet face to face. You know?
Yeah, so it was being very resistant for a long while there, and you were starting probably to get agitated, I reckon.
Oh yeah, very much. Yeah. The jig's up. You're caught. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so right after that, we're staring at each other, and we stare at each other for a little while. We're arm's length away, and finally, I just say to it, I said, "Hey, what are you?" You know, I didn't know what it was, so I was very polite.
Yeah.
Like when I was yelling at it earlier, I wasn't so polite. Now my language wasn't clean.
Well, give a description of the thing as much as you can before you go and tell what it did, because I think that's very interesting too.
Okay, all right. So I'm looking at this thing, and you know, I'm sizing him up, and it's not a big fella. It's about 4 foot tall, maybe a little taller, maybe 3.5 feet tall. He ain't tall, and you know, he's got 2 arms, 2 limbs. He's bipedal, just like a human being would be. You know, I didn't look at fingers. I didn't count fingers or toes.
All right.
The head on this thing now, the head fit the classic gray alien head. And now when I tell you this, it's going to sound weird, but there's no features on this thing. I saw no features. Like, I'm staring at it where the eyes would be.
Right.
I don't see anything, but it's definitely dense. You know, like, but once again, I don't have it's not daylight. I don't have perfect light on it, so there could be features that I just can't see, you know?
Right.
But, so I'm looking at him, and, his head, you know, that head, you know, like, we're not standing completely still. Like, I'm moving, and that head, I mean, the cone-shaped head just keeps popping out at me.
Right.
So, finally I asked him, I said, "What are you?" And now, Brandon, I don't know what I said in his mother tongue. This thing jumped out at me. Like, he was engaging in a fight.
Yeah.
And, I just happened to grab this thing. You know, like, when he's coming out at me with his arms open, I was able to grab his arms and pin him down to his side with my forearms and biceps and grasp my hands behind him. By this time, but like when he jumps at me, his back's faced the tree, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I grab him and I pretty much spear him into that tree. And now I got him on the tree, my weight on him, his arms to his side, my hands grasped behind his back, and I'm digging my head into his head, which it's solid. You know what I mean? This is some kind of entity.
Right.
And I'm digging my head, breaking his posture, and squeezing him. You know, like, he's not breathing. And next thing I can tell you is I wake up gasping for air, coughing on my couch, and there, and my back door is just opening and slamming and opening and slamming. And this has never happened. This is not normal. But you know, I'm chalking it up to you know what? I just had a nightmare.
Right.
And for some reason, I'm really trying to be as logical as I can about this. For some reason, that door is unlocked, which is real weird. Knowing we're having all these break-ins in the neighborhood. If I was going to go to sleep, or if it had been past 9 o'clock, that door's locked. There's no reason to have the door open, unlocked.
Right.
But this door's open and slamming, and I chalk it up like bad dream and whatever's going on here. So I get up, I close the door, and I go sit on the couch. I calm myself down, you know, chalk it up to a bad dream.
Right.
I guess I started, starting to drift off on the couch. And before I know it, that door's opening and slamming again, opening and slamming. So,
yeah. And it was doing this like hard.
Oh yeah, this is hard. This is like a grown man giving it all he's got to open and slam this thing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He's slamming it so hard, or whatever's slamming it so hard that it's just bouncing back open, pretty much.
My goodness.
So I get over there and I lock it again, and even though I try to give it the benefit of the doubt, the situation. I try to give the situation the benefit of the doubt and say that that must have been 2 mistakes I made in one night, where you don't want to keep your doors unlocked.
Right.
You know, and it's really hard to calm down now.
Right.
And but eventually, I start to calm down, start to try to nod off, but I'm not asleep at this point. My eyes are closed, and that door starts opening and slamming again, just like the first 2 times. And by this time, I've had it. You know, like.
Yeah. So, but you knew you locked it. You were willing to say maybe I forgot.
This door's been locked.
Yeah. I mean, where you had thefts in the neighborhood, you're pretty darn sure you locked it. The doors were locked in your house. After you woke up, you were going to say, okay, maybe I dreamed, and you're trying to be logical. And then when it's opening and slamming, you went over there and said, okay, well, I usually lock the door because of these thefts. So you lock it and you go sit back down. And then you were
Right.
even still willing to say, well, maybe I overlooked locking it when I went and locked it again. But
That's right.
you know darn well that you locked it and you double checked it and you were pondering about it being unlocked, right?
100%. 100%.
All
Like,
right. So,
I can tell you I locked that door 2 times. Go ahead.
right. Okay. I just want to make the point for the listeners is that you are pretty good about locking your doors because of what was going on, and there's no way that you didn't lock your door that many times, even if you're willing to just say, maybe I forgot once. But there's no way you forgot 3 times. This thing was unlocking the door and slamming it. And
That's right.
okay, proceed, I guess.
Okay. And then, we're wrapping it up here, but finally, that third time I get up ready to fight. I'm just sure there's something, but I get up cussing and I'm yelling like, "Why don't you come on out? Round 2. You didn't like it the first time. You know, I can only look at you as a coward. Because you can't come out, you can't show yourself. Whenever you get ready, the offer stands, and that's when it left me alone. You know.
So when you got angry, it basically quit messing with you after that, and you locked the
That's right.
door. How hard was it for you to go back to sleep at that point?
Oh, I didn't sleep.
I don't blame you. I don't know how you went to sleep at all. Anyway.
Well, I've had a lot of experiences, and like when people tell you you're crazy, you just you justify what happened to you in your head, and you say, "Oh, well, I'm crazy. I just had an episode. I need to calm down."
Right.
But
So let's go back for a second now, because
uh-huh.
this is something I've been talking about for a while. Because whenever I bring up the subject of do you think these things, or whatever, whether it's Bigfoot, Dogman, or whatever, I said, do you think these things are supernatural? And then they say, well, sometimes I think they are, but then they're seen eating on the road, or that and then I swear that they're flesh and blood.
Right.
And I was talking to you about when Apostle Paul was talking about there's different kinds of flesh. He said not all flesh is the same. There's flesh of fish, there's the flesh of beast, there's terrestrial flesh, there's celestial flesh. So he's saying that angelic beings and birds and animals and humans, being terrestrial, the celestial is the angels, even angels and stuff have flesh. But he said, but the glory is different. But they have flesh. Now, when Jesus resurrected, he went to the disciples, especially Thomas, who was doubting Thomas. He walked through the walls because the Bible makes a point of telling you the doors were all locked. I mean, and ironically, you have this story of locking your doors. But he comes into that house because they can walk through that wall and unlock your door, or they can just walk through the wall and. But anyway, Jesus comes into this locked room in the upper room, and he goes up to Thomas and said, "Thrust your hand in my side and see if I'm not flesh and bone," because Thomas didn't believe that he had resurrected, and that's in his resurrected form. Now, angels came to Abraham, 3 of them, and sat down and ate with him. They ate with Gideon. The manna that was given to the Hebrews in the wilderness when they were out there for 40 years, they were given bread. According to Jesus, it was bread from heaven that they could bake and all kinds of stuff. And humans could eat that, and also angels can eat our food. We can eat their food. So eating and being physical and having flesh it fits a supernatural creature. I think what's confused people is there's such thing as demons that are disembodied, that had been disrobed, and they don't have bodies. But a Nephilim, it would be a hybrid between a human and a angelic being, or angelic being an animal or whatever, those things certainly have flesh and probably less of the supernatural or glory that the scripture says. But anyway, your story is very interesting because you're the first person I ever heard of who actually was attacked and fought with a shadow person that typically would think was made of a shadow, but they're made of some kind of dark matter that there's no light in them at all. And that's why they look so black. They have no light in them, none whatsoever, because I believe that we have a certain amount of light that is in us. When you don't have that, you have zero. Jesus talked about there being certain creatures that had no light in them at all, and they appear to be so dark. And I've encountered these things myself. They're so black you can't hardly see the features. And it seems to me that maybe the thing didn't even have features. I don't know for sure, but anyway, you wrestled with this thing. Can you tell us what it felt like when you hooked up with it and you actually felt it? Was you surprised?
Yeah,
Can you go in detail on that a little bit?
Yeah, this is 100% flesh and bone. The only thing I could tell you is if a prepubescent boy tried to wrestle with a grown man, and it wasn't much of a fight. It was one-sided. He did. They're not very powerful beings, I'll tell you that. And from the way he ran away from me around the tree, I wouldn't say they're too bright either, man. I would say more or less, they had the ability to, walk through walls. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I refuse to call them extraterrestrial because they're not more than we are.
Right.
In fact, anybody that deals with this situation, I would encourage you to try to fight this thing, or at least let it know who the boss is. You know what I mean? Because we're supposed to run this earth, not them.
Right.
And I think we're forgetting that. And sometimes, because it's scary, we give these things powers that they don't have. And I think that's how they operate.
Right.
But that answer your question?
Yeah, the fear. They definitely play off of that.
Right.
Now, so what do you think happened to where you were outside? Because that's really similar to an alien abduction scenario. Do you think that it was something happened in the supernatural area that you actually walked in on your own and didn't remember it, that it smote you with some type of blindness, or because that's happened in the Bible too, to where someone would be doing something and like the whole Syrian army came after Elijah and his servant, and the angels smote the whole army with blindness, and then Elijah and them took that whole army over to another town, and then he prayed that God opened their eyes, and then they woke up, and like you did on your couch, they didn't know how they got there. And so do you think it was something supernatural, or
Well, like we talked about it yesterday, and this way I'm gonna tell you the same thing. Like that's everybody has their opinion. Now I agree a lot with what you just said, but I think my buddy Jim, he's probably come up with the best answer or solution to that answer that I think maybe this is food for thought. But like I mentioned to you, I wasn't a perfect Christian when this happened to me.
right?
Nowhere near. And but I really think God just took pity on me. And I think maybe my guardian angel was sent to save me.
Right.
Because when I woke up on that couch, I didn't have a bruise on me. I didn't have a cut on me. Somebody took care of me.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just that's how I'm going to look at it. Everybody's got their own.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it was your guardian angel that came and they have abilities to make you not remember, and on both sides, and people that have abductions, a lot of times they don't remember, or even, I mean, I had an encounter with the demonic being, and I physically had an altercation with it, and I don't remember what happened right after I went to bite it. And my sister walked in on it and she saw it and she doesn't remember either. She said, "What happened right after you bit it?" I don't know, man. I don't remember either. But it was real. I mean, I had a witness, so I mean, it happened. I couldn't even say I dreamed it. So I think maybe, yeah, that's what I thought maybe happened was that somehow God intervened and He caused me not to remember it, and I went back to bed
That's
after.
exactly how I feel in my situation, Britt.
Yeah, because I was in the hallway like you. I wasn't near my bed. I wasn't asleep and stuff. I was in the hallway on other end of the house, and bam. So I mean that's a good explanation that you were fighting with this thing. Something intervened, run that thing off, and you were smote with this, whatever they call it different things in the scriptures. Um, and then and you went back into the house and you were caught and laid down and you were caused maybe not to remember it, and then the slamming, maybe the thing came back or another entity came or something like that. I don't know. That's kind of a hard part to fit into that scenario. But I do believe that sometimes things are so traumatic we cannot remember too. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, you were wrestling a shadow person. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
some
wouldn't want
people
to do it again.
now some people might try to say that you had sleep paralysis. How confident are you that you really were awake and you really did go outside and you really did walk down the street and you really encountered this creature?
How confident?
Yeah.
Confident am I?
Right. Yes.
About 100% confident.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl.
Right.
I'll stay out until 4 or 6 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling bad.
Right. I agree with you. Just to let you know, I've had people try to tell me my encounter was sleep paralysis, because I've had a couple different that I've posted, a couple encounters, but the one where I had the witness, how can you say I had sleep paralysis when I had a witness that walked in on it? Did that person have sleep paralysis at the exact same time, the exact scenario? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't even make sense. And I have had sleep paralysis kind of thing before, and I always wake up and know that it was sleep paralysis. I've never been confused about, you know what I'm saying? I know when I'm awake. you know.
Brenton, I just want to throw this point at you. I think that's how they operate. I think
Right.
I think they can manipulate people's thoughts, and I think these things stick with you, and they manipulate the people around you to manipulate you.
Right.
But you know what you saw.
Right.
That's all you need. That's your experience.
Right.
Can't nobody take it away from you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know when something happens, there's a knowing about it, and every time I've ever had a bad dream and I thought that I was awake, at some point I wake up and I know it wasn't a dream, and it feels different. That you realize that felt dreamy, but a real incident, it's real. You know the difference between dream state and reality when you're awake. You know what I'm saying? You never.
And I've had nightmares where it felt so real,
Right.
But then you wake up. You know what I mean?
Right, and
I went to bed. That was all a dream.
Right.
This is the only incidents I've ever had like that in my life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Even though you woke up but you knew the other part wasn't a dream state, because reality, I've never been awake and was confused and thought maybe I was asleep.
Right.
I've been asleep and confused and thought I was awake.
Yes.
But there's a difference, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I've actually even one time accidentally came out. I got up from bed, walked into the kitchen, and was sitting there flicking the light. And I couldn't turn the light on. Well, I thought, well, heck, fire, the light bulb's out or something. I was flicking, flick, trying to hit the thing, and I realized, dude, that I had gotten up and come into the kitchen, and I was not in my body. So I was like thinking, because my hand was going through the switch.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my goodness, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I started walking back to my body, my
Right.
bedroom, and then all of a sudden, I don't remember anything else. It's like boom, and I wake up, but I felt like I was actually up, and it was real. And I don't know, that was just a little tidbit there, but so there are some situations that can be different, but and confusing a little. But when you're awake, you're awake, and you don't confuse that with dream. And I believe you wrestled with an entity, and they are solid, just like we've been saying. So this little thing, it was spindly. It was it never did, other than try to attack you. It seemed to be trying to avoid you more than anything else until you basically cornered it, right?
Very much. Yes, sir.
Right. Wow. So, do you think the door opening and slamming was that thing that had come back, or something else? Or maybe it was your guardian angel trying to wake you up, saying, "Don't go back to sleep right now."
Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know. I know I got angry. When I got angry, it stopped. Maybe it was a last ditch effort to get some kind of control over me, or to get its fix of my fear or something like that. But
Right.
yeah, when you tell it how it is, they don't like it.
Or maybe, yeah, that might be the case. And but I was thinking of another possibility. Maybe it was the guardian angel that came and helped you. If that was the case, that he was doing this over and over to get you to get mad enough to say, get out of here. And so before he was going to leave, he was going to make you get mad to confront it instead of going laying back down.
I like all those ideas.
Yeah.
It
Just
could be any one of those. Yeah.
That's why we call the show Mysteries to Search. We search these things out, we have to theorize a little bit, on some of it. But you have a fascinating story. That is absolutely the only time I've ever heard a shadow entity being actually physically touched. There might be more, and I'm sure there are, but that is super fascinating. Now, have you ever had any other incidences with some type of supernatural creature after that or before that?
Mm, yeah, I've had quite a few throughout my life. Maybe having all those experiences, led me up to having the courage to, try to fight this thing, and that's
Right.
what I want people to do. I don't want people to be scared of it. I think they're ruining their lives living in fear. I think you need to go confront that thing and get them out of your life.
Right.
But
And
yes,
Jesus' name.
go ahead.
Now, Jesus' name is very, very important. Um, and the blood of Jesus is very, very important for protection against entities that are worse, because Jesus did say that you can cast an unclean spirit or whatever out of a person. It'll wander through dry places and then see that you put your life back together and come back with seven worse than itself. So there's some entities that are way worse than others that you might not be able to physically overtake. You know what I'm saying? There are some creatures out there that are very, very powerful, and that takes. But they can't do this to you if you ask the Lord for the Lord's help and His protection. They just cannot touch you. It's fact.
I do it every day. I do
That's
it every
right.
day.
Now, how much did this encounter make you think about praying and asking for protection?
To be honest with you, not for a while. I said yesterday, like I really thought, because I've had experiences, and I would tell family members, and they would tell me I had either an overactive imagination, or I would, dreaming it or whatever.
Right.
And even I've had a lot of experiences, and but so for a while there, I chalked it up as just maybe a crazy moment. But I told this same story to a man that came to my job, and me and this man, we did not get along. We did not like each other.
Right.
For whatever reason, I sat down and I told this man this story, and he told me everything I needed to know. He told me things about me I didn't know.
Right.
And when there was this huge, this was bigger than that story to me. Because I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but whenever he was able to tell me that, he shared similar experiences, and something weird happened from that. Like, turns out we were cousins. Like, we never met. We shared like the same genealogy,
Right.
and he had gone through the same things, and to me that was amazing.
Right.
So I went looking for God then. Maybe I didn't want to believe. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just couldn't believe. I chalk it up more like it was hard for me to believe. I've been indoctrinated by these schools, on evolution and
Right. Yeah.
all these things, and I never wanted to think that they would lie to you, but they do.
Yeah.
They try to take you from the truth.
Right.
And believe it or not, I started studying quantum mechanics, theoretical physics.
Right.
And that it proved to me that there was a God. I don't know how you could study that field and come away with it
Right.
not thinking there's a God. To me, it proves there's a God.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so once I figured out there was a God, that's when I started looking. I looked in every religion. I looked everywhere.
Right.
And I finally came to Christianity. And I pray every day now.
Right.
And a lot of it had to do with that moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because when like you just said, whenever I had the encounter when I was a little kid, the first time I ever had an encounter, I was 5 years old, and then I had another one when I was 21. I think I was 21. I did the math and stuff, and came in the video I made about it, the Hollow Earth, my encounter with Adaro. I did the math and I honed in on the exact time, but I don't remember. But anyway, it was those things over time that God used to call me, and knowing all that stuff is out there. When I knew there was a Lord, then I knew I needed protection, because a lot of times they'll leave you alone until you try to go to the Lord. You know what I'm saying? You'll have a few encounters here through a lifetime or what have you, because they want to try and see if they can drive fear into you, ruin your life, and things like that. But if they see you going to God, and you're honing in on Jesus himself, then they will get angry, and then you have to have protection, and that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? They'll send the one stronger than that one, you know what I'm saying, to get one stronger than itself, 7 worse or whatever. But that was kind of the question I was asking, is that so you do know that over time God had mercy on you throughout your whole life, and it protected
Yes,
you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm living proof.
Right. Right. And that's awesome. And Apostle Paul and Peter and all the disciples, they said, we love God because he first loved us. And that's huge across the board, because it wasn't until God loved them and revealed that they even had the ability to love him, and that's quite cool. And if you look at the time where Jesus was on the beach there, and he said, Peter, do you love me? And Peter's like, yes, I do, Lord, you know that. And he said, Peter, do you love me? And he said, yes, Lord, I love you. And he kept asking him this, and he finally got upset, and he's like, Lord, why are you asking me this over and over? you know I love you. And if you look in the Greek, the way that the Lord asked that, it's he used, there's three different words in the Bible for love. There's eros, where we get the word erotica from, which is not, a godly type love. And then there's filio, that is a brotherly love. And then there's a word agape, that is perfect love that God loves us with. So when the Lord was asking him these things and he was answering back, they were kind of progressing through those words that they were using. The Lord was asking him, do you filio me, for the brotherly love? And he's like, yes, Lord. And he went on through to up to the agape. And it was quite, I just thought it was very fascinating. And
Yeah, I like that. I like that little story.
yeah, yeah, and the Lord, He reveals His love to us in that kind of way, I believe, and it's a gradual thing till we can come to the realization of it, and yeah, God protected you for sure, brother. You believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you telling the stories, man. It was really interesting, and you learn little things from it, and
Oh
uh,
yeah.
so and it's brave of you to share too. Not
Thanks,
every,
sir.
you're welcome, man. And you've got my numbers and everything too. Anytime you want to talk, you're welcome to give me a holler, man.
Right. And if you figure anything out, you give me a holler.
All right, man? Yeah, I will. I'll probably be calling you back from time to time, man.
Cool. I got other stories you might like too. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, why don't you ponder on some other stories that you want to tell and holler back at me? Is that cool?
That work.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Josh, and God bless you, man.
God bless you too. Thank you, Brent. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, YouTube land. Hope you enjoyed that. That was a very fascinating story, and just it's amazing sometimes the stories that people have, and if we just take the time to listen, every once in a while you'll get little nuggets out of them that you didn't even expect as they tell the story, and then they share something else, and we can learn from each other, and I think that's a really good way to fellowship and to help others heal from the traumas that they've had in their past. And sounds like he's doing a very good job with that already. But sharing sometimes helps others because other people that have had these kind of things haven't begun to share, and they still suffer in silence over it. So anyway, we appreciate Josh, and so thank you very much still. Yeah, Josh, if you watch this video all the way to the end, you get a second thank you there for sure, and I'll be talking to you. YouTube land, thank you very much. God bless you. Like, share, comment, and so make sure you're subscribed if you're not, and I'll see you all in the next video. And like I said before, if you got a story that you want to share, brentonson@gmail.com. It's very easy to get a hold of me, all lowercase letters and what have you. So very simple. Bye-bye.